All right, so it's a new day, and as far as my throbbing, I'm talking about that pain, that throbbing pain that I felt on the right side of my head. It's more of a sinus effect based on the weather transitioning, and as you know, the last few days have been pretty warm, and then suddenly yesterday it's back to the cooling trend again. So it was kind of below average, but it still wasn't like cold, but then it did affect, the right side of my head. I know I used the fan the other night just because it was stuffy in the room. And I do remember the last time I had this throbbing head pain as a result of the sinus effect was when I had the fan on. It was stuffy and it wasn't really that hot, but that's where it gets really tricky, on whether or not I should use the fan, because if I use it, then there's more than likely I might get a headache, or as a result, like what I had yesterday. And to have what I had yesterday on top of what's been a very, very crappy day that was just worse than Sunday, that's what explains it. But set aside all that, it's starting to get better. However, as I woke up, like, it was only like barely 1 a.m. and I was feeling it. I was feeling that throbbing pain, and I didn't want to risk taking Tylenol again. But it is what it is. I had to put the right side of my head on the pillow to avoid, and I had to have my arm right under it just to avoid feeling that pain. It just sucked, dude. But that's just part of what appears to be still the flu season, and I get it. So many weather transitions, and like I said, it's been hot the last few days, including this past weekend, and now it's back to the cold, the cold trend. So going through that a lot. It's why I'm getting headaches or just these really annoying throbbing head pains that just feel like my head's just being stabbed by something, and it's just not pretty at all. But anyways, I did tell Eugene and Russ about playing game 11. It was supposed to be originally today, but I had to postpone it. I already let them know, because I need to let this pain just fully heal, right? So just another full day. I mean, I still felt it a little bit, but it's not going to be to the extent that it was yesterday. So anyways, let me just get into this one real quick here. So I did talk about, accountability, and, I know I was not having it yesterday. I was very stubborn to even, say fuck accountability. I don't want to be accountable, this and that. Well, here's the thing though, after I've been told about being accountable. Now, here's the thing. If I do decide to be accountable, which I definitely should be, it has to be at the right time, and I better really be truthful to it, right? I better not be a hypocrite about it. So if I decide to be accountable for my actions, as a lot of people have told me to be, right? I was wrong for doing this. I was wrong for doing that. I was wrong. I own up to my failures. I own up to my mistakes. I own up to my wrongdoings. I'm gonna hold myself accountable, and I will never do this again. I have to make sure I'm not doing it again, because if I do it again, they're much worse off. I'm talking about guys like Andrew. Let's say, for example, Dewey, Andrew, Julio, Robbie, Angelique, Lovely Mel, Anastasia. Those people like that, they've already seen my worst. If they see that I'm doing it again, even though I already admitted to them that that's my fault and all that, I expect these guys to believe in me, right? But unfortunately, if they see me still do the same shit, like especially how I did to them that I don't mean, they're gonna be much worse off without me. I can guarantee you that, So I'm better off just having this to be an honest decision and not doing it again. And I already know this, for some people, or more like a lot of people, this has been a biased take, and I'm gonna say it once more. I don't care what anybody says at this point, or what anybody feels. Once I get a new job, and I decide it's the right time for me to be accountable, because I already have my peace and happiness by then for sure they will never see me at my worst again. Now, sure, of course, they're gonna see me like feeling down and out, but not to the extent that I've been for the last few years, where they got rightfully pissed off and they're seeing me as a whole different person, right? So I just thought I get that across, and I'm there not be a hypocrite about it when I do hold myself accountable, when I do start becoming accountable, when I do start owning up to my failures and mistakes and all that. So look, I've given it some thought, and I decided, you know what, I better do it when the time is right, because if I do it and it happens again, then all these guys are just much worse off. I can tell you that much. So yeah, I'm not going to take too long on it. I just thought I'd get my point across on that. So, I just think it's best to just be accountable when the time is right. So, that being said, I'm going to leave it at that. Talk to you guys later. Peace. Thank you for watching, everyone. Like, share, and subscribe.